to make a brand new document. So you go to File, New, and make sure that you have pixels selected, and your longest side I want as no greater than, well, your longest side needs to be 1,000 pixels. The other side, you can choose what size. And resolution really won't matter here because we're actually specifying the pixels on here, and you'll click Create. I happen to already have done that and brought up a whole bunch of images within that. So I right now have a cow that is about to be abducted by a spaceship. I'm going to turn this into a GIF. Now, first, you need to actually change the workspace it's in. So by default, it's in Essentials under Window Workspace Essentials. You need to click Motion, and that will create a timeline like down here. Then what I would do next is create video timeline and go to the three little squares on the bottom left that will create a frame, convert to frame animation. Click on that. You'll have one frame right now for a 5-second duration. That's way too long for an animation, so we're going to click no delay instead. Now, I need to create keyframes on here, and the goal is to eventually do to add in-between frames called tweening within Photoshop, built within Photoshop, so that it does most of the work for you. So the next thing I need to do, I need 2 keyframes to tween with. So I'm going to create a second frame, and there's a little trick to making this thing start off the page and then end on the page. You'll notice if you do it wrong and you do the first frame off the page, let me just lock some of these so I can show it to you, is that if I bring the first frame off the page, it also brings the second frame off the page. So we have to kind of trick it. I'm going to start back with this, and I'm going to use the second frame and bring the second frame off the page, right? Because technically, wherever you're doing here will change everything to the right of it as well. But now I'm just going to drag it into the first position. So now the frame we just edited is in the very beginning, and then it appears onto the screen in the order that we wanted it to. From here, you can select both frames and go to the tween feature, which is right next to a little post-it for the new frame. To the left of it is Tweens Animation Frames. Click on that, and we have to decide how many frames we want to add in between those 2 keyframes. I'm going to suggest for this one, why not try 10 frames, right? You could always, if it's not fast enough, we'll find out. So it added 10 frames in between those 2 for a total of 12 different frames on there. And I can actually preview this. I'm going to go, instead of once, I'll do forever, right? And so you notice it comes in and it's just looping on me. I now want it where it's going to pause right here, and then it should, so I need to make a new frame. And then I want this green light to appear and glow over the cow. So I'm going to change that to like overlay. So this to a overlay so that it kind of looks like more like a light and not like just a solid color. And I need to make another frame where this light is at 100% opacity, and this one is at 0% opacity, because I want to change and make it gradually turn on. So I'm going to select both of those, and I have both of them appearing, and the only difference between frame 13 and frame 14 is the opacity is different. Both of them are appearing on there. And now I'll just go back to tween, and we could do 10 frames again. Let's just try that out, and we'll play it. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, now you notice it kind of moves everything pretty quickly. It would be nice if it paused for about a second before the light turns on. So we're gonna find the frame where opacity is 0, which is this one right here, and I'm going to hold it for 1 second. So instead of it having a no delay, I hold it on that one frame for a little bit longer. And we'll just check to see what that looks like. So it allows the viewer to kind of catch up with each action. Otherwise, these actions tend to get jumbled and we have a hard time paying attention to what's most important. So I have this light appearing now. I want the cow to rise up on here. So I need to make a new frame. I'm going to lock the light so I don't end up selecting the light by accident. Anytime you have these overlapping layers, for some reason when you're using the move tool, click it by accident because on top of the stack. And then now I'm going to take this cow and I'm just going to hold shift so it goes perfectly straight up, and I'm going to rise it, and I'm also going to have it gradually disappear as it reaches up there, so lowering the opacity with that. And so now I have two keyframes. I have it with 100% opacity down here, and I have it with 0% opacity up here somewhere. I just can't see it. And I'll select those two keyframes, and once again I can tween it. We can do, I don't know, 8 frames. It doesn't really matter. We have to time it anyway. And we'll play it to see what it looks like. Start from the beginning. And so it looks like this right now. Pauses, comes up. That was a little too fast. So I'm going to undo my last change. Undo that last change. So now I have just those two keyframes again. I'll hold shift and select both of them. And I will do maybe 14 frames in between here. And let's check it out. Pauses, light turns on, it comes up. Now I also think it needs to hold on the light before it just starts coming up right here. It's just too quick. So right over here, I'm going to have that hold for maybe a second again. And we can play it again. Okay, that might have been a little too long, that 1 second. So I'll switch it to a half second. But I'm going to now make a new keyframe where this light, and I'm going to double click so I can make edits to it again. This light is going to go down to 0 opacity. And I'm going to hold shift to select these two frames right here and tween it once more. We'll do 10, click OK. And it's going to gradually disappear from me. So it'll look like this right here coming up, and it looks like it probably needs to pause when it's all the way up as well. So I'm going to find that frame. Almost there is 91% opacity. Hold on. Oh, 0 opacity for the cow. So this is the one right here that I wanted, or actually this one's the one that I wanted right here. And I'm going to hold this for maybe a second. Right? I probably can hold this one right here for a second too, and we'll see what that looks like. So here's what I got. Right, and you'll notice if you have it hold for the same amount of time every time, it feels a little too mechanical, I guess is the only word I can think of. So maybe don't have it 1 second every time. We might be able to put this one to half a second too. And this one might be okay. I need to make a new frame now though. This one's going to be no delay again. And so I want this spaceship to zoom out of frame. So now I need to select that spaceship, and I'm going to hold shift so it's nice and straight and bring it all the way out of frame. So I have a keyframe where it's in the composition and the keyframe where it's out of the composition. We'll hold Shift and select those two frames. I can once again go to my tweens up here, and I'll do, let's say 10, and it should zoom right out now. So here it is, right? Once again, light turns on. It's going to come up, pause, light goes off, and then it should zoom out. Here we go. Oh, and I'm noticing all of these got tweened as 1 second each. They were supposed to be no delay here. So let's just backtrack. That might have been too slow for me. All right, so we have this one right here. This one is supposed to be out of frame. And I'm going to do another tween. This time I'll do, I don't know, 7. Make sure that none of these are 1 second. There's supposed to be no delay. And let's check it out. There we go. It zips. All right. So the only problem is it looks fun with the spaceship, but the cow just appears and disappears. If you look at this one more time, it's going to suddenly just appear back on screen. Look right there. See? So we need to find a way for this cow to appear back on the screen. I have it where it's off screen right now. I need to go back to my first frame because it needs to end on this frame right here. And I have frame 1 selected. I'm going to go to my timeline menu, which is located on the top right over here. And I'm going to select copy frame. And then I'm going to scroll all the way down to my last frame and select that timeline menu again and paste frame after selection. So here's the second to last. Here's the last. I need to have it end here. So I'm going to make one more frame. So I have 2 of the same exact frame. And the second to last one needs to appear off screen somewhere, right? So 59 and 60, I'm just going to tween. We can do 7. We can do, you know what, we'll do longer than that. We'll do 14 frames because the cow needs to slowly walk in, and we'll see what it looks like. That might be too fast still. Yeah, that's too fast. So this is part of the animation part of it, is the experimentation, and we need to do maybe 25. Click OK, and we'll test it out. I don't think it tweened on me, so that's why I made a mistake. One of them was supposed to appear off frame, and now I select these 2, tween it, and we'll do the 25, and I'll just start from back here. It flies off, and there you go. It slowly moves in, and there we have it. To export, you need to go to File. Don't hit Save. To make this a GIF, you need to hit Export, Save for Web Legacy. When you're here, it's going to take a minute to do this. It takes a decent amount of processing power for Photoshop. But this is where the settings will be for the final export of it. GIFs need to play and use HTML. That's the code that it's written in. So it needs a web browser to play it. If you open it up without a web browser, so in other words, without Safari, Chrome, or Firefox, or any other web browser, it won't play correctly. It'll look like a PDF. So you get to kind of look at what is the best optimization for this image. What I'm really looking for is the file size right here. You want it to be a smaller file size, but you also don't want it to lose image quality. So you can kind of see this one doesn't look so good compared to the others. And I'm gonna just look for which one do I like the best. This one's pretty good. It's a low image size, right? And a pretty good image quality for it. I can preview it before I export it, see what it looks like, and its actual size, not this condensed size. And it looks like this right here. It should do the whole thing. This is the actual size of the image. And it gives you information here if you also would like to see, like that's the coding if you want to embed it, or you can just drop it into a website using the GIF format as well. When you're done, you just hit save, choose your file location that you would like to save it to, change the name right over here. You'll notice it's already added .gif on there. That is your file extension. Do not erase that. And then click save when you're done. That's it. That's the whole way of making a GIF. I'd like to see what you guys have when I come back. All right, thank you.